The Senator from Wood County, Senator Hughes, you are recognized for a motion to suspend the regular order of business on HB 2911.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, House Bill 2911 was carried over in the House by Representative Click, who chairs the Elections Committee. It deals with various sections of the code about practices for registration, and I'll be offering an amendment that along those same lines, but that's what the bill does, and I move suspension. It's in its regular order of business.
Senator Hughes moves suspension of the regular order of business. Take up and consider at this time HB 2911. Is there objection? Hearing none, the rules are suspended. Chair lays out on second reading HB 2911. The Secretary will read the caption.
HB 2911, relating to voter registration.
Members, there is an amendment. The following amendment.
Floor amendment number 1 by Hughes.
Senator Hughes, you're recognized on your amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. This amendment adds pieces of legislation already approved by the Senate and over in the House in various stages of the process. The bill is about voter registration, and each thing I would offer in this amendment follows along those lines. First of all, you may recall Senate Bill 205 by Senator Perry, which passed the Senate April 17th, and it has to do with what a county does for registration information about a juror who says that they're not a citizen. So they come to jury duty and say, I'm not a citizen. Senator Perry had a bill about that, which we passed. This takes his bill, putting it in this bill about registration processes. The amendment also has one provision from Senate Bill 9, not a controversial provision. It's the provision that said boxes on an application for registration about citizenship and age can't be pre-checked. This was not a big contentious discussion, as I recall, when the bill was moving through. And then it adds several sections to Senate Bill 903, also passed by the Senate. And here's the specific things it does. It requires a registrar to notify the Attorney General, Secretary of State, and the DA when someone who's ineligible to vote votes or registers. It requires the DPS, with the cooperation of the Secretary of State and in accordance with federal law, to make an agreement with the Commissioner of Social Security to verify information. We'll recall there was the state over last year went back several years to try to deal with some of these things. This bill would allow this to be done on a quarterly basis, so we know where we are and we keep our list clean as we go. Also requires the SOS to enter into an agreement with DPS under which information in the statewide computerized voter registration list is compared against the database of DPS, again, to verify information so that what's provided to DPS matches what's been provided to the Secretary of State. That's what the bill does. And finally, it would require local registrars to investigate any determination of ineligibility. Right now, they are required to for juror cards. When folks show up for jury duty and say they're not citizens, they're not required to for others. So that would make it the same for all of these ineligibility matters. And also, once a problem has been shown, this would require the SOS to make the correction and allow the AG to, allow the SOS to make the correction once it's been shown. And that's what the amendment does. Again, this has all been passed by the Senate in various pieces and is over in the House. And I move its adoption.
For what purpose does the Senator from Dallas County rise?
Several questions.
Senator Hughes.
I'll yield. Of course I'll yield.
Senator West, you're recognized.
Senator Hughes, you had a fine bill until you decided to bring SB 9 back into debate. Isn't this SB 9 all over again?
Senator, the only thing from SB 9, and I want to make sure I'm clear, the only thing in here from SB 9 is about voter registration cards. It says when you send someone a voter registration card, you can't check the box for them that says I'm a citizen. It's got to be blank for them to check themselves. That's the only thing out of Senate Bill 9 that's in this amendment.
Can you pull this down for a few minutes so I can do a comparative analysis between your amendment and SB 9?
Well, Senator, Senate Bill 903, which was subject to some debate on the floor, that is in this bill. But just to make sure I'm answering your question, the only thing from Senate Bill 9 is the pre-checked I'm a citizen, I'm over 18 on the voter registration card.
Okay, can you, what I wanted to do was to make certain that I'm reminded of what the vote was. Was it a partisan vote on 2903?
On Senate Bill 903, I believe it was. I believe it was a partisan vote as well. Yes,
Was it
sir.
a partisan vote on
I
Senate
believe
Bill
it was.
9?
Yes, sir, it was.
So what I'm asking you to do is to pull it down so I can do a comparative analysis, the amendment at least. Pull that down for a few moments so we can kind of take a look at it and make sure everyone on the floor is aware of what this amendment is.
And Senator, still being new to the Senate, I might ask the parliamentarian or the chair what the procedure is for that.
But we can do it for a time certain if you want to.
Senator Hughes, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. And members, to give everyone time to look at these issues again, I move that we postpone further consideration of House Bill 2911 to a time certain 6 p.m. today.
Senator Menendez, for what purpose do you rise?
A quick question to the author, Mr. President.
We're on a motion to postpone the bill. I think that.
And this will help with reducing the amount of time, possibly. I just need to ask him just to give me specifics on the bills that are in the amendment. This is a 7-page amendment. I was going to write those down.
Happy to say.
Senator Hughes.
Mr. President, I'll yield if it's helpful. So, Senator Perry filed Senate Bill 205.
205.
That passed the Senate. And that's the one that deals with potential jurors who say, I'm not a citizen, yet registered to vote. And so that's 205. And then Senate Bill 9, one provision from Senate Bill 9, and that's the one that talks about voter registration cards. When you mail cards to people, you can't have it already filled out that says, I'm a citizen, I'm eligible. Folks have to check the box themselves. That's Senate Bill 9. And then Senate Bill 903. The remainder of this amendment comes from Senate Bill 903. And for background, Senate Bill 205, Senate Bill 9, Senate Bill 903, each passed the Senate and were debated. So I don't think you'll find any surprises.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Hughes has moved postponement of HB 2911 till 6 p.m. Is there objection? Hearing none, the motion is adopted. Thank you, Senator.